Hey everybody, I'm going to just sit here and visit with myself for a couple of minutes till those of you that are interested start to join. Most of you know that when we're doing a Facebook Live video, you can ask me questions. And I'll be able to respond to your questions here, and that's how it'll work today. So if there's anything that comes up for you, hi Jenna, or if you would like to share your story verbally, I can add you to the camera. So some of you might know, it was on the news, I think today, that a Missouri mom drove her car into, I think, a lake or a river with her children in it, and on purpose. And her daughter is dead. Her son is in critical condition. He was pulled out of the water. And the story is that there were a lot of signs that she had postpartum depression, and I welcome everybody. Hello. So I'm just going to share a little bit about my story. Anybody, when I'm finished, that wants to ask questions or share their own story, let me know, and we'll do it. So when my second baby, was born 16 years ago, he was a really colicky baby, and he just cried all the time, and he nursed all the time. That was what it looked like for about 8 months of his life. And So earlier that same year, like 2001, Andrea Yates killed all 5 of her children. She drowned them. And, she was a monster. And people just talked so bad about her. And I'm sure I was included in that group of people that was like, you dirty bitch, what's wrong with you? And later on, come to find out she's been depressed for years, and everybody in her life was like, Andrea's really not doing well. And then she killed her children. So I had thought that Andrea Yates was a monster, and like, how would you not know that you're like killing your children, and like stop yourself, or having the feelings of killing yourself or your children, and stop yourself and get help. Like, smart people get help. And I judged her. And then I had Ben. And I remember having this feeling of wanting him to stop crying. And I wanted to put a pillow over his face. And I didn't want him to die forever, but I wanted him to die for a little bit and to shut up. So I had visions of doing that. And sometimes I even had a pillow in my hands. And it was cold. He was born in the winter time, December. And I remember thinking that if I just opened my window and laid the baby outside here, and it's like freezing. And if I shut the window, I bet I maybe couldn't hear him. So I got some help. And I had a girlfriend, my friend Andre used to, she owned a health food store, and she brought me over a bottle of St. John's wort, which is like the natural antidepressant. And I don't know that I'd even told her that I was having these visions. I think she just could tell that I was seemingly not well. And I remember my midwife saying, like, maybe we ought to, like, do some antidepressants. And I was like, I don't feel depressed. I don't feel overwhelmed. I did feel like I wanted to hurt my baby. And those feelings were sometimes overwhelming. And some of you may or may not know, I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. My bachelor's degree is in psychology. Like, I've studied it and did not see in myself that I was really suffering. And I live in Kansas City where I don't have family support. And one day, this friend of mine, her name's Cindy, she had older kids, and she called and she said, can I come and get Ben and Jake for a little bit so you have a few hours to yourself? And I was like, no, like, we're good. Like, we're just home. And she said, I think I'm going to come and get them. I'm going to just come. And she came and got my kids, and I locked myself in my room and sat on the floor and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried, and realized, like, I don't even know who I am. It's like a shell of myself is like shuffling around raising these babies, and I was pregnant with my third, who was unplanned. And I realized that I am the exact same as Andrea Yates, who's a monster. I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now talking. I realized I was the same as Andrea Yates. I realized that she had the thought a little bit longer than I did. She maybe had a little bit less supportive husband, or maybe had one more night than I did of not enough sleep. That I was so close to doing the most hideous thing because I just needed, like, a fucking break from this kid that was crying all the time. And I was pregnant, and so I was having a lot of fear that I was going to have another really hard baby. Thank God I didn't. And for me, I realized pretty clearly that I was suffering and that I wasn't myself and that I needed to get my shit together. And I asked my mom, who I love, who's a great mom. I asked my mom if she would come to Kansas City and help me for a few days. And she told me that she had too much ironing to do. And that was like meant my lowest, and she wasn't coming. And I think now, like, why didn't I just ask somebody else for help? Why didn't I ask my neighbors? Why didn't I ask my sister? Why didn't I ask my cousin that had older kids? Like, why didn't I ask somebody else to come and help me? Like, my mom's not the only one. I know now that I'm not a monster. I also know that Andrea Yates and this mother that drowned her baby yesterday is not a monster. She's really, really sick. And we as women, I have learned, we just are these women who suffer in silence, often until it's too late. That because we're women, we so often think that we have to do it all. We have to keep it all together for everybody else. And so we put it in our back pocket so we can, get through dinner and have fun and maybe be creative. And we put so much pressure on ourselves, and society and one another puts a lot of pressure on ourselves. And then our babies are up all the time. And even like the easiest baby, it's hard. It's a transition in our relationship with our partner. It's a transition in our physical body. It's a transition in our hormones that we've never had before. It's a transition also in our energy. And so if this is your first baby, your second baby, your fifth baby, that you've never, with this baby, had this change in your energy levels. And so when we don't feel like ourselves, we can't orient in time and space. And so we're not here. We're not present. Like I am for you right now. We're not doing that. That we're just getting it done. And then something happens and we feel overwhelmed so much easier because we're not taking the time for self-care. Self-care for all of us is different. Some people it's therapy. Some people it is time away. For some people it is bath every day. Some people it's yoga. Some people it's meditation. Try something. The things that don't work are drugs, alcohol, high energy sports, because all of those things make our nervous system more haywire. So it doesn't mean you can't go do a run or take a, big cardio class, but those aren't the things that are going to help us feel more like ourselves and regulate us. So my story is, Ben's well and good, and I never, thank God, hurt my kids, but I almost did. And these women who do, there are signs. So if you feel those signs, or if you know someone who is experiencing these signs, reach out. In Kansas City, I wish Teresa Marshall was on here. If anybody has the contact for the Postpartum Resource Center or the hotline number in Kansas City, but you can call from anywhere. We have a Postpartum Resource Center, and that is a crisis hotline. You can also always call. We have a mental health hotline that you can always call. If you feel like you're going to harm yourself or your children, you can go to any hospital to the emergency room and they'll admit you. Usually you're there for 24 hours. If you need a break and you feel like you're going to harm yourself, or you have plans or thoughts or images of harming your children, just drive yourself to the emergency room. Postpartum Resource Center is a really excellent place to call, and they'll hook you up with resources and support. I wish so much that our moms just came and helped each other. I watched the movie Tully this week. If you haven't watched it, it's pretty powerful. And in the end, you find out that she's really sick with postpartum depression / psychosis. And when Tully arrives to Charlize Theron's house, whatever Charlize's name is in the movie, Tully says to her at 10:30 at night, "I'm here to help you." And I started bawling. Okay, bye. Sorry, my kids are going to the pool. That's the benefit of having teenagers. They just go places on their own. So I was triggered by that statement, like this woman who's smart and calm knocks on your door about bedtime and says, "I'm here for you." And she takes the baby, brings the baby into nurse, takes the baby back out, and the house is clean when she wakes up in the morning. And I was so upset. And I just said, like, why didn't I ask somebody else? Why did I just stop? Sorry, I've got a tickle. Why did I stop with my mother? Why didn't I ask somebody else? Why didn't I tell her how serious I was? Because she would have come. So I thank you guys for listening. What my belief is now is that when we share our truth, it gives other people permission to do the same. So if there's something that you feel like you'd like to share or have a question about or need support with, feel free to reach out here. If you'd like to share your story, if there's anything that's going on for you or that is coming up for you, feel free to share. There's a lot of you here, and I know a lot of you, and I love you all, and I'm so grateful that you all just came on with 5 minutes notice to listen to my story. And I'm sharing it with you, one, so you feel safe in knowing that you're not the only one. And for you to feel like there's a tribe of us. And if we're up in the middle of the night, get on Mamas and say, who's up? I'm struggling. Somebody I need to talk. Somebody will answer your call right here. The Postpartum Resource Center in Kansas City is answered 24 hours a day. And I just think that's so amazing. Like, what if we all just knew that there's somebody that's going to answer my call that's like, all right, my day's been hard. I don't feel like myself, and I need help. What if there was no stigma attached to needing help? None. What would it be like if there was no stigma attached to needing help? What would that be like? Like, we all just did it. Yeah, so Skylar Ashmore, hi Skylar, says, I always feel that mothers are afraid of being judged and getting into trouble for having the feelings that you describe, and thank you for sharing your story. I think the same. The first time I told this story was about 5 years ago, and I had a mom with twins in class, and she was in mommy baby yoga class, and so she was near me. And she was struggling. And these babies were up all the time. And she had help, but not enough. None of us have enough help. And she tells that, like, I'm struggling. And kind of the other moms are like, ew, gross, you know. I'm not struggling. Like, my baby has a cute bow in her hair. Like, look how cute we look. And I told my story. And it was hard for me to tell that I wanted to put a pillow over that baby's face. I didn't love my baby less than a mom who's never felt that. That mom that just drowned her baby, she doesn't love her baby less than you love your baby. That's the truth. She is sick. She needed help. And nobody helped her. Nobody came for her. Why do we have to ask for help? Why do we have to ask for help? Why doesn't it just come? I wonder. Valerie says, that was my day yesterday. I had a huge anxiety and panic attack while being at home alone with the babies. I called anyone in my support system to talk me down, and it helped so much. And I want to thank that for every mama. I want that for every mama. I had a tough day yesterday too, that I was sharing that with some other moms today, that yesterday was a hard day for me. And my Ben, who's 16 and a half, totaled his car this summer, and it's been just really hard for our family, and now it's hard for me to let him drive again. I'm afraid that it's going to be worse next time, and but he's having to have surgery, he had his face, and I got a bill Used to have braces again and root canals, and it's just been crazy. And I had a true full-on panic attack at the orthodontist office, and I was like wearing sweats and my hair was dirty, so I looked like I was really poor. And they gave me the bill, and I was like, I wasn't ready for that. And then it was like I was talking in slow motion. My throat started closing, and I'm a psychologist. Like, I know that this stuff is happening, and I could feel it happening, but I couldn't really stop it. And she kept like giving me a lot of information, a lot of things to do and to watch for. And I started talking what felt like slow motion, and I was like, can you just call my husband? Like, I couldn't catch my breath. So there was something in the air yesterday. But some days I just remember feeling like, I don't think I'm going to make it through this day. And somebody said to me when my babies were little, like, don't take it one day at a time, girl. Like, that's way too long. What if you just took it like, one moment? That's what yoga teaches us. One moment at a time. Am I okay right now? Are the babies okay right now? Don't go to 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Like, am I okay right now? I'm doing enough right now. Don't think about what's next. Don't think about what we already did. Is everybody okay right now? That's as far as we need to go. And then move to that minute. Says Kaylee is asking, when is PPD and PPA, postpartum depression or anxiety or even psychosis, supposed to go away? So typically we notice it within the first 6 months. So if you're not experiencing postpartum depression or anxiety within the first 6 months, it doesn't mean that you're not gonna have it. My arm's falling asleep. I've got to make some adjustments. But generally our hormones are starting to regulate, or we're already in the depression or anxiety. And so we would generally say, like, the first kind of 2 months, you're doing very little, you're getting a lot of rest, you're eating meals in bed if you need to, that just more rest in the early months is optimal. And then, and you, like, if you're local, like, come to Mommy Baby Yoga. Sometimes we don't do any yoga there, and you guys should know this. Sometimes we just sit and space out. Breastfeed or bottle feed our babies. There's no judgment with what you're doing. There's no judgment if you're cloth diapering or regular diapering your baby. So you're just coming and you're like, oh, I'm in a different space. There's other adult women here. What a relief. So, like, if outings feel overwhelming for you, like, Mommy Baby Yoga is the place where your boobs can be out and nobody cares what anybody looks like. So normally, if you're not experiencing it and you're feeling okay by 5 to 6 months, you're usually doing pretty good. Ashley Mizell says, same here. I broke down crying yesterday. I had to call my sister-in-law to come and get the kids. It's so hard sometimes. So Ashley, like, I'm interested, like, what would you have done if you couldn't have called your sister-in-law? And share that or don't. But there's so many of us that don't have family anywhere around. And so what do we do? Who's coming for us? Kaylee says that she's at 1 year right now and she's just coming out of her depression. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. We had a mom. I also have a podcast with my friend Shannon. Hi, Franny. Franny's my sister. I love you. I have a podcast with my friend Shannon Kinney, and it's called the Mindful Mama Movement. And there's all kinds of great people that have been interviewed on there. But one of those really special people is Erin Hager. And Erin Hager shares her story of postpartum depression. And that she really had the birth experience that she planned for and wished for. She had a great pregnancy. She's really close with her husband. She experienced very serious postpartum depression. and did such a beautiful job of sharing her story. And so if you're interested in listening to that, you can go to the Mindful Mama Movement podcast. And then, I'm not sure, Erin, if you're on here, share what episode number that is, or I can do it later too. Erin did not talk, well, maybe she did. I don't think she talked at the rally, because she had a vaginal birth. I don't think she did. But she might have. Erin's amazing. She's a great writer. Yeah. So, if anybody else wants to share, I can add you to the camera. That we would kind of share the camera. If you want to be seen in your sweats and messy hair, let me know, and I'm happy to add you, and you can share your story now. Anybody else feel amazing today? I feel better today than I did yesterday. I went to bed really early. It's such a hard day. And we ended up going to dinner. I was going to make pizza for dinner. And my husband's like, I don't know about that. Like, why don't we just go out? So Owen, who's my baby, and Will and I went to dinner. And the waitress, we're at Blue Koi downtown, which is delicious. And the waitress, like, kind of pet me. Like, I must have been, like, crazy looking. She just gave me, like, a little love. She must have been, or Will called ahead and said, coming in hot. Wouldn't that be nice if we could do that? Like, get out of the way, traffic. She's had a tough day. Those babies were crying too much today. I always felt like on my hard days that I could feel grateful for my life, for my babies, that, you know, they were healthy, or that I've got all these boys, and that for Will and I, it was very easy to get pregnant 2 out of 3 times without trying at all. That I could feel truly, deeply grateful, and at the same time, overwhelmed and regretful. At the same time. Hi, Amber. Franny, I was so excited to hear about Bri. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, there's so many of you on here. This is great. We should do this more often. I know Valerie's been telling me that we just need to have, like, more support groups. And we will. And just know that, like, when we feel like we need more support, like, use us. Like, this is virtual, but we can get in person. Like, Ashley, I'm struggling today. I'll find somebody that will come to your house. We just had a mom that was struggling and was having to leave a relationship because she was being abused. And so it was anonymous. And one of our moms, who was at the time like 38 weeks pregnant, said to her, "Where are you? I will come and get you right now. We have an extra bedroom for you and your baby." She didn't know who this person was. She didn't know what her needs were, what her baggage was. She knew that the mom was suffering, and she said, "Where are you? I will come get you right now." And I just think, what if we all just did that? What if we all just did that? We've all got a couch. Shaughnessy, I've been getting up 5 to 10 minutes before my baby, and it's helped me a ton. Prepare my mind for the day. Go pee by ourselves. Brushing my teeth, opening windows. And then it changes our perspective for the day. I pick her up with a smile instead of annoyance. Curry says, I have a lot of issues keeping me from having a VBAC. But now I'm battling gestational diabetes that she can't control with diet. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if it would be worth it to go to Kansas City for care. It's a lot, and you can call me, Curry. You know you can. Valerie, we do have amazing moms in this group, and if I would say like the last year or so, we've had like a little bit of trouble. This group's about 10 years old. We've got 13,000 moms in it, and we've got 11,000, over 11,500 active members. That's a lot of activity. We also have about 190,000 posts and responses every 28 days. So it's a busy, busy group. And we have about one problem a week. It's so good. It's so good. And it just says a lot about your hearts and your generosity, and that you're really here to give and receive. And for me, this is something that I wish I would have had when I was having my babies. I love you, Paula. I love you and I miss you, Paula. That I wished I would have had support in any way. I wish I would have had in-person support. I wish I could have gotten on my phone 16 years ago. There was nothing like this. We weren't even texting 16 years ago. And been able to connect with someone and say to someone, I'm really suffering. Like, what if suffering, I think of this about like coming out of the closet. Why does anybody have to come out of the closet and say I'm gay? Why do we have to do that? Why don't we just assume we're all bisexual until somebody tells us different? Who cares? I feel the same about suffering. Like, why don't we just assume this mom is struggling? Why don't we just assume this mom is overwhelmed? She's got a baby. She's not getting enough sleep. She's providing nourishment. She's overwhelmed. She's thinking about college and her baby's a month old. Like, why don't we just assume this mom is overloaded and give her a break? What if we just made life easier? So some of you guys have heard me tell this story. My neighbor right next door, they don't live there anymore, but they had 3 babies really close also. So I had Owen, and that he's my youngest, and then they had a baby a year later, a baby a year later, a baby a year later. So we had 6 babies in 5 years between the two of us. And she had family in town, and her parents would often show up, take all the laundry, do it, bring it back folded. Her parents would often come over and mow the lawn and put a lasagna in the oven. And my other girlfriend and I would sit and be like, she had nobody that ever came to help her either. And that we were just like, what the fuck? Like, why is nobody doing that for me? And yeah, they had really great parents. Those parents were smart and they were the most excellent grandparents. But the difference is she didn't have to ask for help. I should have. I should have asked for more help. So if anybody else, we'll stay on like 30 more seconds unless anybody else wants to share, or if anybody needs support today, if anybody would like to have their time. It looks dark here. I don't know if it's dark for you guys. Well, hi, Jennifer LeBeer. Jennifer LeBeer, some of you know my girlfriend, Jennifer. She's one of my oldest girlfriends. And we both have 4 kids, and our oldest are the same age. And it's been such a beautiful experience for me raising children with Jennifer, because neither one of us, like with your oldest kid, neither one of us have a clue what we're doing. It's just like this experiment. Like all of us are just like, that didn't work. And a lot of times our boys were getting into trouble, or, getting not, one of my kids got cut from a soccer team, and you can lean on your same age kid friend moms so much, because like we were going through it together, knew that we would be going through it together. And man, oh man, I probably would have just not made it without my friend Jennifer LeBeer. So everybody needs a Jennifer LeBeer in your life. And it says, I should have asked for more help as well. I was drowning and still wanted to do it all myself. First time mom, I'm 22, and my son is, I think maybe 1 year old now. I stay home with him, but I don't ever get a break. I used to stay home with my kids, and it was the hardest thing I ever did by far. Working was easier for me. And I could also say, like, I'm lucky. Like, I know I'm lucky that I get to be at home for a few years, but it doesn't end. Like, it's not that fun to be at home with kids. Like, they're not talking to you. They're not sharing with you. That you're just doing and doing and doing and doing and doing for them. And it's just a really hard day. I love you. So, oh gosh, you guys. I love all of you. Yeah, I don't know why it does either. Autocorrect's weird, Alana. So we can keep this conversation going. This will be shared. I'm going to respond to Jessica. I have no idea how to say your last name. Jessica Fallsgraf says she found out that she's at high risk for breast cancer at age 34 and doing a mammogram ultrasound biopsies for the first time, and it's terrifying. I'm preparing to get a lump excision. How do you say that word? Why can't I say that? And I don't even want to ask for help with this surgery. Well, there's a lot of moms that have gone through this. I have a dear friend who is literally going through this right now, that she and her sister both have breast cancer at the exact same time, and they're both young. Know that you're so lucky that we can find out now that we are high risk early, and to be looking into that and just stay on top of it. That my friend that was diagnosed with breast cancer this year, she'd had a mammogram 15 months earlier. And because her sister was just diagnosed with breast cancer, she decided to go get another mammogram, and she had breast cancer. And because her sister had breast cancer, she got a mammogram earlier than she would have, and it saved her life. So that it's good to know when we're high risk, even though it's hard to know that we're high risk. Yeah. Well, I thank you all. If you guys want to continue this video will be saved. Know that just because I'm not postpartum anymore, I'm 14 years postpartum, and I had a full-on breakdown yesterday. It doesn't mean that as a mother, I'm not having maternal anxiety, overwhelmed as a wife and mother. For me, that being a mom is really hard. It's such a gift. We know that we're blessed. It doesn't mean that we're not experiencing feelings of being overwhelmed, need for more support. Get a good tribe around you. On our new membership group, most of you know that we have a new group that's getting ready to start. That's a smaller group. That'll be members only, and you have to be an Omama to start, and blah, blah, blah. More info to come. But in the membership group, there'll be outings scheduled really regularly. And so there'll be outings that you bring your babies to. There'll be outings that are just for moms. And I would just encourage you to go to the things with your babies. Of course, it's wonderful. Get to know the moms. Like Jennifer and I were very lucky to find each other because, like, she's my sister for the rest of my life. That when we find people early in our parenting, we don't have to do it by ourselves. Even though we're raising our kids by ourselves, there's somebody that you can call and say, you need to get over here because I can't do it anymore. I need a break. And the things that make us feel like ourselves, whether it is taking a bath, doing a yoga class, taking a walk in the woods without music, not looking at your phone, that's stress-inducing, makes things harder. Doing the things that make us feel like ourselves again are the things that are going to get us through it. Go to dinner with another mom. Take a walk. Take a break. Ask somebody, I can't pay for childcare, but I can watch your kid if you can watch my kid. And do some things that make you feel relieved so my head's above water a little bit further. And I thank you guys. Chelsea says, I could really use a tribe since I have limited family here. Chelsea, use Omamas. Ask for support. Say, come. Depending on what your baby's age is, the moms that come to mommy baby yoga and the toddler classes, they like go to coffee after or go for a walk together after. That I feel like that starts in class and then it builds and they grow, and then that's who comes to your baby's birthday parties. So thank you all for coming. Be kind with each other, and more importantly, be really kind with yourself today. Thanks.